What up, my friends? Whew, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm just finishing up here. Walking over to the spillway and back out. But it is day 244 of 2024. No excuses, 2024. So that means there's only 122 days left of this year. It's not a lot, you know. Been doing this now for 244 days, a little more than that, but you know, I took a couple days off here and there. Not anything major. Garden's still going. My girl went down there and harvested something like 14 pounds of vegetables, tomatoes mostly, and cucumbers, but some jalapenos. But everything's going good, man. I was just thinking about that interview with Kamala Harris and what's his name, Tim Waltz or whatever his name is. Anyway, also I picked a couple of these chicken of the woods. This is small, it broke too, but I've been watching them for a while, seeing if they're growing. I've been looking for some more, but it's the season for it, so found these other ones, but they weren't them. They had these little stems on the end. These like a flat connector, you know. There's no like stem, no round stem. Anyway, and the texture and everything. The last ones I had were like the orange ones, you know. This one's white. But I'm gonna eat it. But I was thinking about this Training Wheels interview that Kamala had. And look, you know, I know I'm not going to convince anybody to change their mind or anything like that. Anybody who's convinced that, you know, who's got TDS and like, you know, they'll vote for whoever is on that side, no matter what they say or do, to a certain extent, right? I mean, she did say that she's wholeheartedly supporting Israel, you know. And think about this, right? It was supposed to be an hour-long interview, so they interviewed her for something like 48 minutes, 50 minutes, 58 minutes. And all we got was 18 minutes of questions, right? And like, I didn't think she did very well. I mean, you could read her face, and it was like she was put off by quite a few of them. And, you know, like she just kind of spouted out. You know, they're always like, well, we'll tackle this, we'll tackle that, which means nothing, you know. Oh, we brought it to, you know, to the housing market, you know, we're going to do it. And it's like all this nonsense stuff, right? You know, and both sides do it. Don't get, you know, all politicians do it to a certain extent for sure. But my thoughts is like, those were the best questions, right? Because, you know, the Harris campaign, they got to pick and choose which ones that they wanted on there. And those were the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty rough, man. And like, my other thought on it is, because, you know, you can't have Donna Brazile just giving them, Brazil, whatever her name is, Brazil, whatever, I forget what her name is, or Wasserman Schultz giving them the answers right off the bat, right, to a certain extent. But, like, for the days leading up to the interview, the Training Wheels interview, you heard all the press like, well, you know they're going to talk to her about the border. You know they're going to ask Tim Wells about his military service. You know they're going to ask about, you know, and that's all they talked about on all of them. Like, you know, you got to be prepared for this. And that's how the Operation Mockingbird works. You know, the press tells them what to be prepared for. And the funny thing is like, it's like they didn't prepare for it. I mean, whether you're going to vote for her or Trump, it doesn't really matter. Like, did you watch the video? They did not seem prepared. You know, I remember being in school. You know, I'm about to be 54 years old, so I was born in 1970. And when we were in school, you know, they had special ed classes, right? It was like a classroom away from everybody else to a certain extent. Sometimes it was even on another floor. But, you know, closer to the nurse's office, all that stuff, right? And you'd see people like they were all messed up, you know? And it seems to me, like I remember at one point, my kids being in school and all the special ed kids were in regular classes, right? What do they call that? No Child Left Behind, right? So they put all the special ed kids in with regular kids, right? With the non-special education kids, right? And like that lowers the standard. You know, it's fine for like the first few years, like preschool, kindergarten, maybe even up to second grade. But third grade, I remember being in third grade and everybody was just drumming. You know, they'd be like, you know, they do the twos tables or whatever, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You know what I mean? And then, you know, they'd just do the next one, boom, 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 boom. And everybody would just, in cadence, like, I didn't do it, you know, I didn't like it. I was like, you know, I'm like, eh. And, you know, of course, my grades suffered for it because I wasn't part of the crowd, you know. I was always getting sent to the office, or, you know, you get letters sent home saying I didn't do my homework, which, you know, I was in an abusive home situation. That would get my ass whipped. You know, I remember coming in one time with 2 black eyes because my nose got busted by my stepfather. I mean, I got school pictures of me with a black eye. That was after it had, you know, dissipated a little. And the teacher's like, well, what happened to you? And I'm like, well, you know, that letter you sent home said I didn't do my math homework. Yeah, that's what happened. They didn't care. They kept sending fucking letters home. But what I'm saying is, you know, we've told these people they're special and they're, you know, the same as everybody else. And now we've put them in positions of power. You know, them and the theater kids seem to be the ones who are controlling everything now, you know? And like, I don't know if you remember the theater kids, but they weren't all the way there. I mean, they were great at theater, right? So, I mean, look what's going on now. They're great at theater, but there's no substance to their acting, right? I mean, every politician has an IMDb page. I have one too, but I co-starred in a movie years ago. But anyway, it just seems that, you know, what's the saying? I always screw sayings up, but it's like the lunatics are running the asylum. You know, we don't have any masculinity in there, you know, and we don't have any true masculinity, and we don't have any true femininity, right? All these broads, they are, and people get mad, right? Because I call women broads, you know. Like, and that's the thing, right? If you say something in a tone somebody likes, that's what they talk about is your tone, right? If you use a descriptive word to describe somebody, even though the whole time they're like, well, he's a rapist, he's an insurrectionist, a racist, and blah, 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 and you're going to vote for him, right? Like, they have to preface it with that, right? And it's funny because all the people that were good at, you know, the multiplication tables and recalling stuff that they made you memorize in school are all the little good Democrats now, you know? They're like, well, they said that we love Kamala, so we love Kamala. And you know, I'm not even just talking about her, just in general, you know? The Democratic Party is no longer the party of the working class. They've tricked you into believing that, right? And I'm not saying that the Republican Party is 100% either, but they're, you know, the sides are flipping. The working class, the unionized, they're going towards the Republican Party because they have common sense, you know, policies for workers and, you know, property rights and, you know, the Bill of Rights, the Civil Rights, you know, things like that. Anyway, that was just my thought on it. It's like, it really looks like, you know what I mean? And then the Tim Walz guy says that he lied about his carrying weapons of war into combat because he's bad at grammar, whatever you say. It sounds like I'm talking about my grandmother. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, guys. Right? Most of you are a lot smarter than this, right? I mean, you gotta be. You gotta be. I don't know. My thoughts on the matter don't matter, right? Because you're going to make the choice you're going to want to make. I'm like, just listen to the people. She's had 40 some odd days to prepare for all of these questions, right? And couldn't do it live. Like, I mean, they looked messed up sitting down They were in like a darkened diner. Like, I'm just saying, man, like it just, I mean, even the optics, right? Like a lot of people didn't like RFK Jr. because of his voice, you know, and they won't listen to him. You know, the mainstream media won't let you listen to him. You know, they call him a kook and this and that. But if you listen to, you don't have to agree with everything he says, right? But like he's speaking a lot of truth. Processed foods, you know, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, you know. Ask yourself why all the tobacco companies bought up all of the processed food companies back in the 70s and 80s, right? And they put forth the same tactics that they did on tobacco that they did on food. They made it more addicting, right? They used all kinds of freaking petrochemicals to invent stuff. You know, Coca-Cola has all kinds of like ascorbic acid and like all these other chemicals in it because the amount of sugar in it, your body wouldn't be, you'd throw it up. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Well, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. It is day 244. I'm out of here. Everything's going great. I feel wonderful. You know, you're going to make the decisions you want to make on your own, but like make an educated decision, man. Like don't just go for the fucking BS that you hear. Burr, 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 burr. 2 + 2 is 4. 4, you know what I mean? It's like a whole thing, man. I don't know. Think for yourselves. I mean, vote for who you want to vote for, but just make it an educated, you know, like, is it going to be better for your family? You know, I mean, are you picking someone just because of their gender or race or, you know, the letter beside their name, D or R? You know, you got to ask yourself, what's better for your community? What's better for you? What's better for your family? You know, I'm not saying Trump's the cure, but I don't know. At least he's out there answering questions. You know, he's out there talking to the people. He's on all the podcasts. You know, like I'd love to see Kamala on a freaking hour-long podcast. Like go on Joe Rogan, right? Or even with Theo Vaughn. I mean, he's a funny dude and keeps it kind of light. You know, like you'll never see that. Never. But meanwhile, Trump's on all of them. You know, Kennedy's on all of them. Tulsi Gabbard's on all of them. You know, I don't trust people who won't tell you what their plans are. You know, especially in government when that's what we're voting for, right? We want to see what their plan is. All right, I'll talk to you later, man. 244. Get at it.